Great. Thank you for the warm welcome and good afternoon, everyone. I think we've already had a bit of a warm up, and everyone's feeling a bit energized, so I don't have to take any extra measures. I think everyone's alert and not falling asleep after the lunch. We're very excited to be here today and sharing a bit about content. We have an excellent panel. We have excellent speakers. All very engaging and superstars in their fields. And my name is Amy Wandai. I'll be moderating the conversation, and I will let each speaker introduce themselves just because I would love them to share a bit more about what they do in their own words, which is always best, and also for them to share with us what's happening now, what big projects they're working on, and just share anything that they think is important for us to get this conversation going. So I'll start with you, Florian. Let's go.
Hi. Thank you for that. I'm Florian Sandu, Digital and Content Manager at the CEV. I've been doing this for almost 6 years now. And yeah, it's really exciting to be here. And we get to talk more.
Fantastic. Yasmin?
Hi everyone, I'm Yasmin Aki. I'm the head of content and brand at Premier Paddle. And I was on this stage actually 2 years ago with Esteban, so it's really nice to be back. And I just came back from a tournament in Milan. Lots of exciting stuff happening at Premier Paddle. But I'm super excited to be here actually in Barcelona ahead of our finals tournament at the Palau Sant Jordi at the end of this year. So that's kind of what I'm thinking about today.
Hi everyone, this is Orhun Özdemir, co-founder of Trend Agency. We are a digital agency basically for 12 years producing content that is engaging with fans, mainly on the digital, in arena, and everything around competitions. Some of our clients are speaking here as well, and very happy to be here to share some information.
Hello, I'm Esteban Gonzalez. I'm the Digital Content Senior Manager for 3x3 Basketball at FIBA. It's this discipline played on a half court and especially tailor-made for the younger generations because games are 10 minutes long, so it's perfect to keep your attention for those 10 minutes, and then everything is available everywhere the moment the game is finished. And season is still going on, so we still have a long way to go until December, so we have to continue to finish on a high note.
Great. So we've got volleyball, we've got paddle, we've got basketball, and then we've obviously got the perspective of an agency, which is always interesting to loop in the conversation. So just to kick off, we know that sport is driven by storytelling, sport is driven by emotion, and we have these superstars that are working in all their moments about content. So the first thing that I'd really love to hear from you guys is what is your perspective in terms of generating emotion? Is it all about emotion? Is it all about feeling? Or do we also need to take care of the numbers? Where do you stand? Are you all about connecting with your fans through going viral through emotion? Or do you also have an edge for a balance? Or is it only about the numbers? Let's start with you, Yasmin.
Okay. For us, I'd say, I don't know how many of you know what paddle is in the room. I assume most of you, I'd hope. There you go. Cool. Okay, so you know what paddle is. I pronounce it the American English way. Apologies to the Spaniards, but many people know what it is, right? They know it being Spanish or Argentinian, but our goal is really to expand, and the easiest way to do that is through tapping into those emotions, wins, defeats. Those are things that we look for. I always joke with my team. I'm like, oh my God, like this is a serious defeat. Like I want tears. I want tears in my content. Find me the tears. So it's definitely an emotion-driven strategy in terms of content, and that brings about the numbers that we end up seeing and the success of the sport, the growth of our channels.
What about you? What about you, Esteban? Is it all about the numbers? Which kind of leader are you in the content world? Is it about let's focus on the numbers, or is it about these good moments and emotion?
I wish I could focus only on the numbers, but we have to serve different audiences as well. First, to go with the fans, of course, emotions play a high role because it's what will touch people. And I remember in a panel this morning, someone was saying AI still doesn't have emotions. So we have to show those emotions to the people so they can engage. I remember once telling our camera crew, I want as well tears. I want to see people celebrating, but please don't get punched by anyone because they are crying after getting eliminated from the Olympics or something like that. So of course we have to share those emotions, because at the end it's great when people see the athletes care about what they are doing, that they care about winning, that they care about losing. And then of course is how can we make sure that with this approach, we convince as well the other different departments we have, like the marketing, like, hey, this is super valuable as well for you. Or no, we don't need to show the logo to make sure that this is a commercial partnership, because we can see it in organic way. So at the end, it's about making your balance and making sure that you're serving all different departments within the organization, but as well keeping the fans at the core of your decisions.
Of course. And in your perspective, Orhun, because from an agency perspective, when you're serving your clients, are you focusing on emotions or are you focusing on the algorithm?
I think you need to know the algorithm really well, but at the end of the day, you need to bring those emotions, because if you cheat your way into feeding the algorithm in a way that the numbers will get high, but you will not make those meaningful connections with the fans, it will never work. Mm-hmm. So our job is to make sure that we work with people that are passionate about the sports, that they understand the sport and can create content that will resonate with the fans, while being in the right side of the algorithm. So we will know those tricks, we will apply them, but with the right type of content. Otherwise, you are just getting numbers for no actual benefit for your brand.
Exactly, and when we're speaking about the numbers and the metrics, Florian, I'd love to hear from your perspective if you think that these numbers are actually creating connection, or are they misleading us? What is your perspective on that?
I think it's a bit of both, to be honest. I think it depends on the content that you're sharing. I think many at times people are driven to look at the numbers to decide if a piece of content was good. Mm-hmm. When that's not really the case, you decide whether a piece of content was successful. I think so. I think the quality of the content itself doesn't necessarily bring numbers. You can have an extremely good documentary that will only get 10,000 views, 20,000 views, but then you have a piece of content that gets millions and goes viral, and yeah, it's because something triggered an emotion in people when they were watching it, basically. Yeah. And I don't think we have much of a choice, because the platforms are built that way. Things that resonate, things that make people have a certain reaction, good, bad, definitely not neutral, then that's going to give you the numbers if that's what you're looking for.
That makes total sense. And Esteban, speaking of the numbers and going viral, I'd love to hear from you, because 3x3 has grown very fast globally, and it would be very interesting to know what you have done, or what your experience and your perspective has been in terms of turning 3x3 from a niche a niche sport into a lifestyle-driven brand today.
So this comes back to the beginning, because since the first year it was decided this would be like a digital first sport. This nowadays everyone is saying it, but this means taking a lot of risks. When we started back in 2012, we were probably the only sport doing live stream on YouTube. So because we wanted people to discover us and watch us. This means as well prioritizing your digital rights over some TV deals, and this as well leads to some conversations in the office with your TV colleagues, like, oh, what do you think of this deal? Now, for social, it's not good. So you have always to balance, keep the digital first in mind, develop the strategies to give the fans what they want, when they want, how they want, test new platforms. Then you see, oh, it's not working, we move on. So it's about experimenting, finding what works for you, then reinventing yourself every year, because as well someone said this morning, it's not only sports that we're fighting against, we're competing against Netflix, Amazon Prime, eBay, Mr. Beast, and everyone else that is fighting for attention. So we have to keep that in mind. Now we grew a lot, we made it to the Olympics. Now it's about how can we engage more, make deeper connections with our fans, with our community, with our players as well, to make sure that the family not only keeps like it is right now, but we continue growing and developing the social media numbers.
I think there's an interesting link there with your perspective, Yasmin, obviously, because you've been growing a lot with Premium Paddle and you've been there since the beginning. And how do you balance the effect of trying to keep growing and engage new people, but also create depth and meaningful content for the hardcore fans that you have in your ecosystem?
Yeah, for us, well, it's my primary challenge. It's our primary challenge as a business as well. Paddle is one of those sports that is, well, it's the fastest growing sport in the world, but also it has a huge amateur base. We actually, in the last 8 years, I would say, we went from 8 million amateur players around the world to 30 million amateur players, which is just massive, right? And so how do you capture them? How do you convert them into viewers? That for me, and also, sorry, the 8 million players, most of them were Spanish speaking. And I know we might get to this later, but for us it was really about going from local to global and retaining that Spanish-speaking fan base to convert it and create affinity with this global community without forgetting our core, solid core, whatever the word is, core fans. So. It's a tough challenge. I remember the first year of Premier Paddle, there was still World Paddle Tour, which was another circuit that was actually owned by Estrella Damm that we ended up acquiring, but they were speaking to a Spanish audience, and we come in, you hear my American accent, but like we came in like full American style. We're not American, but it was that kind of like, okay, we're just gonna force that English into the community, and maybe it was a bit of a bold choice, but today our fans, whether they speak Spanish, English, or whatever other language, they connect emotionally with our content, and I think that's what retains our fans today. And our players also are very much proud of their Spanish and Argentinian roots. So different ways of connecting.
100%, and we'll definitely get back to talking about the localization and globalization of the content. But just before that, Florian, for you, I think you have a similar perspective, right? Because you also have to focus on the grassroots while building an elite competition. So how does that balance work for you?
I mean, we're happy to have the opportunity to do that. I know a lot of younger sports, they don't have that, in their repertoire. We take it as a responsibility on the sporting side to kind of, raise the next generation. I think a lot of the sports need to do that. On the content side, it's quite exciting for us to make educated, bets on who are going to be the stars of the future. And we do that by looking at the numbers that they have in game. We look at their attractiveness on social media, and then we start basically putting the highlight on them, the spotlight on them, creating editorials that resonate with the potential audience in the country that they're from, and then basically following their journey all the way to, to the senior team. And most of the times, because for grassroots, especially from our side, we're talking about national teams. So you have a journey of players that are starting, I don't know, from maybe under 15 all the way until they're 25 or even later, that we get to follow along with fans and kind of relay their journey to everyone on our channels, and that makes it special. And I think we give fans an opportunity of really connecting with players on a different level.
Great. And Orhun, you work with multiple brands, multiple sports. What common mistakes do you see? So when you sit here in this panel, you feel free to be critical because you can tell them exactly what they're doing wrong. But I'm super curious about what common mistakes you see that are being made from the team strategically. And I would also love your perspective on what you think about in-house content versus outsourcing the content.
Yeah, I think it's very connected indeed. And I'm not sure if it's right to call it a mistake, but I see a lot of repetitive content being pushed in a very short time span that's not really resonating with the fans. And in my experience, I believe there are two trends right now that is causing this. One is with the really insisting of only relying on in-house people. I think we have a lot of content people that is really short-handed, which leads to someone being asked to do all the production, all the creative writing, all the content, all the editing by themselves, and which leads to them not being have to really critically think about content and think about ways how they can push this content to fans that will make more sense from their point of view. And the second trend, I think this is also causing that, is over-automation. I would say. AI tools are great. They're really helping us out. They're boosted so we are doing this for 12 years. If I compare our speed back to then, they're helping us a lot. I cannot say anything bad. But for example, one very real example that we have there is match highlights. So we see with our clients, when they fully rely on automatic AI-based generation on the highlights, compared to what we can do with video editors, still using AI to be faster, to be more productive, but touching that point that we mentioned about emotions, getting those 1 or 2 scenes that the AI is not able to catch, and completing that with good storytelling, with nice thumbnails, nice visuals, then we see 5 times, 6 times, 7 times better results. So I would say there are 2 trends that we need to be critical about, and yeah, welcome.
And your take on in-house versus outsourcing?
Sorry?
Your take on in-house versus outsourcing the content?
Yeah, so like I said, I believe having an in-house team, overseeing, managing is really, really important. But depending on your organization's sizing, you need to accept that there are certain rules that you cannot fill. For example, if you hire a graphic designer, you need to think about what is his career path. In 3 years, what I can offer him, or her. So these are the points where you should look to get help, because I don't think the approach will be sustainable on the long run.
And just as you touched on AI, I think that's a topic that we can't ignore. It's been an interesting discussion today, and I think that's an interesting place to touch on. So just going with you, Esteban, I'm really curious about where you see the opportunity and where you see the fact that, what is the opportunity, but also what is a path that cannot be replaced, and what is a path that on the content team we have to still keep doing ourselves and push further.
Yeah, this question is one of the most frequently asked in the last couple of years. So for us, and in my opinion, AI is here to help us, not to replace us. This is the first thing. How can I make sure AI is helping me to create better, faster, and more localized content to reach the audience in their local language, in their language, with the subtitles in their own as well language, etc. So we are able at the same time to customize our global product and then reach these core audiences that we all want to reach and engage with. For example, script writing, dubbing, voiceovers, subtitles. This is just some examples of how we use AI on a daily basis. And what before was 1 week of work, now it's 1 hour. Then, of course, we still need to make sure that what we are doing is right, that everything is correct, there are no typos, the dubbing is correct, that it doesn't sound robotic, that this is something that right now is still happening. So it's not perfect. We are going towards that direction, but we're still far away from something that people enjoy listening, enjoy watching live, automatic translated content. So I think we are seeing the start of what's coming next, but there is still a long way, and we have to make sure that then, in a couple of years, I think will be the other way around. You will make the difference if you stay human, and then you connect with the audience.
Florian, what is your take in terms of AI? What are you doing? Where are you optimizing? Are you saving time? Are you saving resources? How is it making an impact for you?
I mean, we're also partnering with WSC, so I guess we're using AI, like a lot of people today. I'm a little bit, a bit on the other side of Esteban. I think there's going to be a lot of things where we don't have a choice. If we want to continue to scale at the pace that we want to, we're going to have to use these tools. And again, if at some point translators were used to localized editorial, let's say, or to localized captions for videos, I think those people would say that they also didn't have a choice, and now they're kind of, on the other side of it. We're personally checking every day to see what's happening, because there's always something new. And earlier it was very interesting with what YouTube is doing. For example, we announced a partnership with a YouTube channel, Power Volley, to stream live matches in the upcoming season. And this was right before they announced the collab feature on the platform. And again, that allows us to do more of that with more channels, and kind of have more control on how we're going to deliver live matches to YouTube, not to just one partner, potentially now to 10, 15, or even more. So I'm pretty, optimistic about what we can do with it. I think the impact is going to be different depending on which side of the, the sword you fall on.
Now it is, yeah. I'm pretty sure we'll be back on this panel, Esteban specifically, as you have been for the last 4 years, talking about AI in the next 4 years and the impact and the difference it's making. Switching over to athletes, when we're talking about content, that's always a very important piece of the cake to focus on. And Yasmin, I'd love to start with you and what you think is the perspective of, how important is it to focus and leverage on athletes and give them their own, empower them to have their own storytelling tools versus brand or league-driven content?
Yeah, for us, we came from a very much kind of maybe it's not fair to say, but I'd say the athletes weren't necessarily like professional compared to the wider industry, the wider sports industry. And for us, it was really, really important first to give them the tools, and I'm talking basic tools like, I don't know, like literally speaking English, like that opens a whole new door. And then, I don't know, posting in 4x5 on Instagram, those like small things, we needed to teach them first. And the next level for us as a tour was really giving them a platform to tell their story and also showcasing their profiles to a huge audience. And an example of this for us was earlier this season, we partnered with Cristiano Ronaldo on YouTube. So he has the biggest YouTube channel as an athlete. I don't even know the subscriber numbers, but literally the biggest. And it was the first time a partnership of this kind was made. And for us, that's a huge win, not only as a tour, but for the athletes getting a huge audience, a new audience watching them. So it kind of goes both ways. The athletes can tell their story, yes, but we can also empower them through different means, such as collaborations with the biggest celebrities in the world.
Orhun, what's your focus when you're working with brands or leagues? Are you focusing on pushing the brands to make their own content and assisting them with their content, or are you also pushing this athlete-driven content?
So it obviously depends on the brand and their audience and their strategy, but funny enough, this was our actually selling point. When 8 years ago, my partner John walked into EuroLeague Basketball's office, we said that there are stories from the athletes, from the teams, from the coaches that we need to give spotlight. And I still remember the first visual that we made for them. It was, for those who follows basketball, it was for Željko Obradović. He was a Panathinaikos legend and he was playing against them. And when we published that piece, it got 5-6 times more interaction than the usual number of engagement. And we saw that we were on the right path. So I really think it is a lot easier for the fans to connect with athletes, with the coaches, rather than connecting with brands. So it's a really strong part of the equation. But as Yasmin said, it's also depending on, it's different for paddle, it's different for volleyball, it's different for 3x3, so it needs to be done in the correct way to show the best stories. And on the other side, there are also the athletes with their own channels, and it's a big part of the equation as well. And there, we also partner with some athletes to help them out. But what I see there is the companies that are helping them or the athletes themselves, they need to focus on the personality of the athletes, because today I see a lot of one-size-fits-all approach with game day visuals and everything on the social media that really doesn't make any sense and doesn't add value to those athletes. So I think for the athletes it's also important, but needs to be done correctly in a personalized way.
Fantastic. Esteban, are you also doing something in terms of pushing athletes to make their own content?
Yes, of course. We all speak about influencers and content creators, and athletes are your first influencers and content creators. So first you have to teach them the basics, Like Jasmine said, like I remember some years ago just telling them, please do not click any links that someone sent you by DM, because we have a few of them that got hacked and then getting the accounts back was a nightmare.
Please don't like publish where you are, your hotel
Yeah.
or whatever, basics.
Yeah, please do not share any Instagram story that is mentioning you. You have to create a bit. It's great you answer their DMs, but please be careful with what you say. So this is the first one. Second, explaining them why they should use social media. Yeah, we care about winning and making money. Okay, social media might not help you to win, but definitely will help you to make money. And then the perspective change. Then is giving them the tools, like how can I have photos, how can I have videos? For this, we work with Greenfly. So anytime after the game is done, automatically on their phones, they have already all the photos from the games, and they can immediately post. So it's about educating them, telling them what to do, telling them what not to do, and especially making like a big effort here, like please don't do this, please don't do that, because at the end they are focusing on the court, and we always try to provide all the tools they need, and just use them as amplifiers, use them as influencers, use them as content creators. They have as well great ideas, and some of our best performing content comes from ideas the players had, like, oh, I would love to do this challenge. Can we make it on your page? Like, of course. And we saw really good numbers, because we have seen the trend that athletes are becoming bigger than the sport. Like we also saw how LeBron stopped basketball and more than basketball for one day until he announced just a partnership. So we are going towards that direction. The players are becoming more important than clubs themselves, so we have to keep them close, be friends with them, even though sometimes it's difficult. But we have to keep in mind that they are #1 influencers, and people will listen to them more than they will listen to a club or a league.
And when we're putting out our own content, Florian, I'd love to hear from you about how you're collecting data and using the data that you collect to personalize and reach certain audiences or certain people. Of course, I mean, we are collecting data. We've heard about it in the panels before this. We are trying to collect always as much data as possible, and it would be super interesting to hear where we're using this data and how we're using it to connect with our fans much better.
I think, a lot of people spoke about individualizing the experience for the fans. I think in all honesty, just to give an example, it's going to be hard for us to create 1 billion clips to get 1 billion views, right, that we get a year. I think the most important thing is, especially on a social media level, is how defined can the clusters of fans be? Can we use nationality? Can we use language? Can we use interest? Can we use all these kind of things? And then we get to the points where we do collect data through the funnel on a fantasy game, on our OTT or things like that. And then you collect interest and their behavior on the platform and so on. And then you're able to offer them, personalized news, personalized videos and things like that. So overall, I think it's a bit of a fallacy to talk about, social media and really individualized content. Because again, we want the 1 billion views, or we're getting them. And sometimes, some of our clips might be next to a dancing cat or something like that. And just because, people are exploring, and that's how the platforms are built. So yeah, clusters of fans at the top level, and then try and get them through the funnel where we can get the data to serve them better.
And go ahead.
If I may add to that, I fully agree with Florian on that, because one-on-one personalization is also a quite bold statement. And if your data is incorrect, if you don't know enough about that person, it can be off-putting rather than helping you. So I think the correct answer, like Florian said, is segmentation rather than going too much in detail, because you never know, your data might be inaccurate, you may not know enough. So it's a very tricky thing.
100%. And linked to that, Yasmin, I'd love to pivot back into what we touched on earlier a little bit about globalization and localization. Obviously, for brands like yours, which are global movements, different languages, what is your strategy with that? What are the challenges of having to put out content in different languages for different segments, and how are you also using data to work on that?
Yeah, for us, it kind of touches on many points that we've already discussed, AI being one of them, emotions being another. We want to speak directly to whichever audience we have. And also, as a tour, we are expanding in different territories every year. So this year we penetrated the US. Hopefully next year in our calendar that we'll announce at the end of the year, there will be new territories as well. But we use our stops to communicate to all these different audiences. And we're currently already on 3 continents, if I'm not wrong, 24 countries. But those are our entry points to all these different audiences. So kind of breaking away from the Spanish-dominated fan base and really showing that paddle through emotions, through the storytelling of the athletes as well, and showcasing that they're the real superstars. That's how we're trying to connect with people with the use of like AI and helping us localize our content a bit more. Subtitling is a big one, but at the end of the day, what happens on court is what grabs people's attention. And if Ronaldo, Neymar, Zlatan, or whoever is also posting about us, then there you go. You have like the whole globe. So that's kind of our strategy.
With you, Orhun, how are you helping brands do this in terms of helping them localize their content? What is your strategy on that?
Yeah, so I think nowadays consuming global content is much easier for the local audiences because you have like auto translation on the social media platforms, etc. But what we have seen that localization is still very, very important, and it is really a game changer to connect fans with the brands. If you can make jokes in their own culture, if you put those culture references. We are managing, for example, accounts in French. We are managing accounts in Turkish. For example, EuroLeague Turkey account has been a huge success for us, which created a new channel for the organization to reach the Turkish fans. So I believe while it is easier now to reach people globally, it still has a lot of value to localize content to build those nice connections on the local level.
Obviously, we're talking about content, and on a lighter note, I would love to hear from all of you, actually, about not only what platforms work for you, what platforms are best, but about maybe a piece of content that your team has created that you are super proud of, or just moments that have turned into great content, you know? Because when we talk about sport, there's obviously a huge link with entertainment, and this sometimes is also helping create viral moments. So what has been some examples of things that maybe you've seen, maybe you want to focus on in the future, or something that's happened that wasn't really the content that you thought was going to, you know, create that effect, but has, you know, created a boom, and that's something that you're thinking of doing more. So let's start with you, Esteban.
So this is a super difficult question, actually. You can spend hours planning a campaign, a video you think is perfect, and it flops, and then you do the most stupid video with your phone, and it reaches millions of people. So this, I think this will always surprise us. In our case, something that always comes to my mind are weddings and proposals. Because I don't know why our players have decided that the 3x3 court is a great place to propose to their girlfriends. And this generates a lot of engagement, a lot of views, is shared, people comment, everyone is happy, everyone celebrates. I think it also speaks good about us because we provide this platform, this lifestyle, and people want to have this memory forever and look at the photos in hopefully many, many years, looking back and saying, yeah, I proposed on the 3x3 court because this sport was my life. But this is something that happens from time to time. So then, of course, we have to look at the daily, weekly, monthly basis and see how can we create those pieces of content that will reach a broader audience. Of course, as Jasmine said, highlights are the ones that bring you a lot of people. Then, at some point, one Monday, I didn't have anything to post. I was feeling like, today I don't know what to do, and I posted a blooper. And it became super viral. It was like someone getting hit by a ball on their face, and then he was laughing. So since then, every Monday we post a blooper, and we see people saying, oh, this is my favorite post of the week. I come here every Monday just to see what you guys have posted. So sometimes it's just how something that you do just because at the end creates like a piece of content / campaign that resonates with a broader audience and brings even new fans and makes this to the mainstream.
that and the thinking behind that, AI cannot replicate that. So what about you, Florin? What are the aspects for you?
There's not one single piece of content. The way we look at content at the CEV with my colleagues, it's we're looking at patterns. We're looking at what the platforms are, tolerating or really want from us, and try and fit what we have into those in those patterns. The duration of the clips, the format, even though that doesn't really matter nowadays. Like recently, I know vertical was big. Now it's starting to be, still important, but not as big. So we're looking at how we can basically create at scale while still maintaining that emotion. And that's where we rely on WSC for automation, but we still go through the clips, finding, a player running into the referee box, after a great rally. That AI is not going to tell us that. So yeah, we're basically trying to figure out what the platforms want from us, and that changes obviously, quite often actually. But that's kind of where we start in terms of identifying the content, and then we know the properties that we have from beach volleyball, from indoor national teams, Champions League. We know we have value. So then it's just a matter of how do we package it to make sure it gets to the right people. And just to answer your second part of the question, I love YouTube personally because you can do everything on it. We live stream on it. We interact with our community through posts. We do shorts. It's YouTube for me.
And for you, Yasmin, I'm sure you want to share a little bit about, you've touched on it, but for you, it's celebrities, right? It's not necessarily you creating those moments, but celebrities.
Yeah, and it sounds like easy, like they just need to come up, come to the tournament and like, ooh, a few cameras, but sometimes it can happen in a split second. So it takes a really dedicated team who are just ready to adapt to anything to capture the right moment. But apart from celebrities and maybe highlights, one thing that, first, our main platform is Instagram. Don't ask me why, I don't know, but that's where we are, and that's where our audience is. But I do know why. Paddle is really a social sport, and it just so happens that it's easily consumed vertically, and we just really like Instagram. But one thing that comes to mind in terms of content that works really well is beyond the players, actually, and beyond the sport. Again, going back to emotions, we look at all the kinds of different actors at our tournaments, and one of them that happen to also be on court are the ball kids. So similar to tennis, you have the same amount of ball kids on the courts. They're young kids, they work with the local federation, and they're just there to help do their work, but also watch the best players in the world. So we're always keeping an eye out on some of the ball kids who, by the end of the week, they end up being like super celebrities, and whatever content, with permission of their parents, of course, whatever content we do just ends up really touching a part of our audience's heart, and that's what we always look to do. And if I can add one more thing, going back to match highlights, people love to see an incredible point from all kinds of different angles, and it really doesn't matter how it's captured. It could be a mini cam, it could be a 360, a camera, a phone, whatever. Whatever you have, just kind of post it, honestly, and chances are all of those pieces of content will work, or at least one. But that's one thing that we're definitely testing this year, is just flooding kind of the market with whatever crazy point has happened that day.
Fantastic. And just as we wrap up the conversation, I'd love to hear what we think, or what we'd love to share, because everyone is here to learn from the four of you that are excellent at what you do. If you could just share what you believe in 2 to 3 years is going to be the difference between brands that truly connect with their fans and not just create content versus the brands that get left behind on this movement. I'll start with you, Esteban, and we can come this way.
Okay, so just to touch on different things that we have said, I think 2 or 3 years, of course, localization, personalization, of course, because then now we say AI, but AI already existed. It was called algorithm, because now when we say, yeah, AI is giving you a personalized feed, TikTok, Instagram, YouTube are already doing it for so many years. So now the experience is more and more personalized, but I think the brands that really connect with the human behind the screens will be the ones that win the game in the long term. because at the end we all go towards the same direction, towards the same goal, trying to compete against the same parties here. So it's about humanization, connecting with your audience and making them feel listened, valuable, and you care about what they are consuming and the missions you have as a company. I think will earn a lot of respect in the future.
I think what Esteban said earlier and also Shania said in the morning with sports brand competing not only with other sports but other forms of entertainment, I really believe in that. So the brands that are failing to do that is not only risking losing fans to other sports or maybe their competitors, but also fans moving away from the sport itself. So that's why I believe it's really important that they keep up and make it more entertaining, making it easy to engage, make it more resonating with the fans on overall.
Yeah, to me, brands that I believe will be successful in 2 to 3 years are the ones that are ready to take risks, ready to test, ready to learn. Sometimes we have to go beyond, our set content plan. Actually, every day, I'm sure all of us, we do things that we didn't even think about probably an hour ago, right? We post in the moment, and it's not necessarily negative to react so quickly. I think that's one of our powers as social media executives is we can just literally click a button and post, and I believe that's what ensures our success long term, is always learning, always testing.
I fully agree. I think federations, brands that are willing to adapt to whatever is coming, but practically, I think it's very important, and I think it's going to become more important in the next 1, 2, 3 years. For us to basically own the fan experience in our own ecosystem. I know the guys from The Zone were talking a little bit about it, how they're trying to personalize with integrating AI. So basically streaming, editorial, a social experience type of thing in your own ecosystem, and that's where you can basically keep people and create community.
Well, there you have it. I don't think I need to add anything from that, but it's not just about visibility. It's about, creating these connections and deeper lasting connections with the fans in order to sustain and to grow. So thank you so much for listening to this session, and thank you so much to the wonderful speakers that we had here.